Welcome to Lotus Light Teachings, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that can transform the way you experience challenges, stress, and setbacks. Have you ever wondered why some people remain calm and unshaken no matter what life throws at them, while others crumble under pressure? The secret lies in mental resilience, and Buddhism holds some of the most profound insights on how to cultivate an unshakable mind. In this video, we'll uncover 6 Buddhist principles that will help you develop mental strength like never before. And trust me, the last lesson might just be the most life-changing one of all. Let's begin. Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. You're standing on the edge of a vast, still lake. The water is so calm that it perfectly reflects the sky above, like a mirror. But then, a single stone is thrown in, and ripples spread outward, distorting the reflection. This is how our minds work. When undisturbed, our thoughts are clear, our emotions steady, and our decisions wise. But when hit by stress, fear, or doubt, our inner world becomes chaotic. Some people remain calm, no matter how many stones are thrown into their lake, while others feel like they're drowning in the waves. So what makes the difference? Mental resilience. The ability to stay strong in the face of hardship is not something you are born with, it is something you cultivate. And few traditions understand this better than Buddhism. Rooted in over 2,500 years of wisdom, Buddhist teachings offer profound insights into how to train the mind, overcome negativity, and build the kind of strength that allows you to thrive, not just survive. In today's video, we'll uncover 6 powerful Buddhist principles that will help you build an unshakable mind. And trust me, the last lesson is the most powerful. It might just change the way you experience life. So take a deep breath. Let's begin this journey together. Detach from negativity, the art of seeing clearly. The mind as a lens. How negativity warps your reality. Imagine you're holding a camera, ready to capture the most breathtaking landscape, majestic mountains, a golden sunset, an endless sky stretching toward infinity. But there's a problem. The lens is covered in dust. No matter how beautiful the scene before you, the image you capture will always be distorted, unclear, and dull. This is exactly how negativity distorts our perception of reality. Negativity is not just an emotion. It is a lens through which we view the world. A dirty, clouded, cracked lens. When we allow negativity to dominate our thoughts, we see obstacles instead of opportunities. We see enemies instead of allies. We see limitations instead of possibilities. The problem is not the world around us. The problem is how we see it. Buddhism offers us a profound truth. Your thoughts are not facts. They are like clouds drifting across the sky. They come and go. They shift, change, and eventually disappear. But the sky itself remains untouched, vast, and limitless. Negativity thrives on attachment. When we cling to resentment, when we replay painful memories, when we allow fear to dictate our future, we feed the illusion that our suffering is permanent. But what if we could step back? What if we could see things as they truly are, rather than through the filters of fear, anger, and doubt? The ability to detach from negativity is not just a psychological trick. It is the foundation of clarity, peace, and resilience. The neuroscience of negativity, why we get stuck in toxic thought loops. Why do negative thoughts seem to have such a strong grip on us? Why is it so easy to fixate on problems rather than solutions? The answer lies in our brain's wiring. The human brain has what psychologists call a negativity bias, a survival mechanism inherited from our ancestors. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, discovered that humans are more likely to remember and react to negative experiences than positive ones. Why? Because in prehistoric times, danger was everywhere. A single mistake, eating the wrong berry, trusting the wrong person, underestimating a predator could mean death. Our ancestors' brains evolved to prioritize threats, focusing intensely on anything that could harm them. Fast forward to today. We are no longer running from saber-toothed tigers, but our brains still react to criticism, failure, and setbacks as if they were life-threatening. A harsh email from your boss? A mistake in a presentation? A rejection? Your brain treats these like existential threats. But here's the truth. We are no longer cave dwellers. We don't have to be slaves to this wiring. Neuroscientific research shows that we can actively rewire our brains to focus on positivity, gratitude, and clarity. The more we train our minds to break free from negativity, the stronger our mental resilience becomes. But how do we do it? How do we wipe the dust off the lens and start seeing life as it truly is? Meditation, the science of loving kindness. If negativity is the storm that distorts our vision, loving kindness meditation is the stillness that clears the sky. Buddhism teaches that resentment and negativity are like holding onto a hot coal, expecting the other person to burn. The only person who gets hurt is you. But what if, instead of gripping the coal tighter, you let it go? Meditation is a proven method for replacing negativity with compassion, both for ourselves and for others. Harvard neuroscientist Richard Davidson conducted a study on Tibetan monks who practiced meditation daily. The results? Their brains showed heightened activity in regions associated with happiness, emotional regulation, and empathy. And the best part? You don't need to be a monk to experience these benefits. Here's how you can start. 1. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. 2. Silently repeat. 1. May I be happy. 2. May I be at peace. 3. May I be free from suffering. 3. Extend these wishes to someone you love, then to a stranger. 4. Finally, extend these wishes to someone who has hurt you. First, it might feel strange, maybe even uncomfortable. But over time, this practice rewires your brain, helping you detach from negativity and embrace a mindset of clarity and peace. The gratitude shift. How one question can change your perspective. Imagine two people walking through the same storm. One curses the rain, frustrated that their day is ruined. The other smiles, grateful for the fresh air and the nourishment it brings to the earth. Same storm, different mindset. Gratitude is one of the most powerful antidotes to negativity. Dr. Robert Emmons, a leading researcher on gratitude, found that people who actively practice gratitude experience lower stress, better sleep, and even a stronger immune system. So, how do we shift from negativity to gratitude? Ask yourself one simple question. What is one small thing I can appreciate right now? It doesn't have to be something grand. It could be the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the laughter of a child, the simple fact that you are breathing. Negativity wants you to focus on what's missing. Gratitude teaches you to focus on what's already here. And when you train your mind to look for the good, you will start to find it everywhere. The samurai mindset, mastering emotional control. The samurai warriors of ancient Japan had a phrase, Mizu no kokoro, the mind like water. They trained not just their bodies, but their minds to remain calm, focused, and undisturbed by external chaos. Imagine throwing a rock into a still pond. The water responds, it ripples, but then it returns to stillness. It does not resist. It does not react. It simply flows. This is how we must train our minds. When negativity arises, acknowledge it, but do not cling to it. When challenges come, respond, but do not react with panic. The goal is not to eliminate negativity completely. That's impossible. The goal is to train your mind to be like water, flowing, adaptable, unshaken. Every day, life will throw stones into your pond. The question is, will you let them disturb your clarity, or will you learn to let them pass? Your challenge, a 7-day mental reset. Are you ready to detach from negativity and see life more clearly? Here's a 7-day challenge to help you put these principles into action. Day 1. Start your morning with meditation, 5 minutes. Day 2. Every time you catch a negative thought, ask, is this thought a fact or just a passing cloud? Day 3. Write down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. Day 4. Practice Mizu no kokoro, respond, don't react, to a stressful situation. Day 5. Replace one complaint with a positive reframe. Day 6. Spend 10 minutes in nature, observing how things flow effortlessly. Day 7. Reflect. What has changed in your mindset over the past week? You are not your thoughts. You are not your past. You are not your struggles. You are the sky, vast, limitless, and capable of clarity. It's time to clean the lens. It's time to see clearly. It's time to take control of your mind. Stop complaining, master the art of acceptance. The burden of complaints, holding a burning coal. Imagine holding a burning coal in your palm. You grip it tightly, convinced that if you hold on to it long enough, it will somehow harm the person who wronged you. But the longer you hold it, the more it sears into your skin, the more it consumes you. Complaining about things beyond your control is exactly like that. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't change the circumstances. It doesn't bring you relief. It only intensifies your suffering. We all know people who are chronic complainers. No matter what happens, they find something to be upset about. The weather is too hot or too cold. The traffic is too slow. Their boss is unfair. The economy is terrible. The system is broken. Now, let me ask you this. Has complaining ever truly improved your life? Has it ever fixed the problem? Has it ever made you stronger? Or has it only reinforced your sense of powerlessness? The answer is clear. Complaints keep you stuck. Action moves you forward. The Buddhist perspective, the two arrows of suffering. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha shared a powerful metaphor that remains just as relevant today as it was then. He explained that life inevitably hits us with the first arrow. Challenges, disappointments, setbacks. This arrow is unavoidable. It could be a financial crisis, a failed relationship, an unexpected illness, or an unfair situation. But what happens next? We shoot ourselves with a second arrow. This second arrow is our reaction. Complaining, resisting, blaming, resenting. The first arrow causes pain, but the second arrow turns pain into suffering. Think about that. You cannot control the first arrow, but the second arrow, that's entirely within your power. Instead of complaining about the first arrow, you can choose a different path. Acceptance, adaptability, and action. The psychology of complaining. Why it feels good, but keeps you weak. Neuroscientific research shows that complaining rewires your brain for negativity. Every time you complain, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with frustration and victimhood. Over time, this becomes your default setting. Your brain actively seeks out things to complain about, even when there's nothing really wrong. Dr. Rick Hansen, a neuroscientist specializing in positive psychology, explains that our brains are like Velcro for negativity and Teflon for positivity. Complaints stick. Gratitude slides right off. But here's the dangerous part. Complaining also releases dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. This means that every time you complain, you're reinforcing the behavior, just like an addiction. The more you complain, the more powerless you feel. So how do we break this cycle? We train our minds to focus on what we can control. Pause and reframe how to stop complaining in the moment. Let's say you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. You can feel frustration building. You start blaming the city planners, the reckless drivers, the universe itself. But wait, before you go down that path, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is my complaining changing this situation? What is one thing I can control right now? Maybe you can use the time to listen to an audiobook. Maybe you can practice deep breathing. Maybe you can reframe the situation. This is a chance to slow down, to practice patience, to let go of what I cannot control. This simple shift turns frustration into mindfulness. And mindfulness, that is power. The untangled knot moving from problems to solutions. Picture a tangled knot. Complaining is like pulling at it in frustration. It only tightens. But when you slow down, focus, and methodically untangle each strand, the knot begins to loosen. Complaints tighten the knot. Solutions untangle it. Let's say you're frustrated with your job. You feel unappreciated, underpaid, stuck. You could spend hours complaining to coworkers, reinforcing your own misery. Or you could ask, heavy checkmark, what skills can I develop to increase my value? Heavy checkmark, who can I connect with to explore new opportunities? Heavy checkmark, what actions can I take today to create a better future for myself? The difference? One mindset keeps you trapped. The other sets you free. Stoic wisdom. What you can and cannot control. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus had a rule. Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. Complaining often happens when we focus on what we cannot control. White heavy check mark. You cannot control how others behave, but you can control how you respond. White heavy check mark. You cannot control the economy, but you can control how you prepare. White heavy check mark. You cannot control the past, but you can control what you learn from it. When you shift your focus from external factors to internal mastery, you reclaim your power. And power? That's the foundation of mental resilience. Your personal challenge. The 7-day no complaints experiment. Are you ready to take back control of your mind? Try this. Day 1, awareness. Keep a tally of every time you complain, out loud or in your thoughts. You'll be shocked at how often it happens. Day 2, the pause. Each time you catch yourself complaining, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask, is this complaint serving me? Day 3, reframe the situation. For every complaint, force yourself to find one positive reframe. Instead of, my boss is impossible, try, this is an opportunity to practice patience and professionalism. Day 4, shift to solutions. For every complaint, write down one small action you can take to improve the situation. Day 5, gratitude replacement. Each time you feel the urge to complain, replace it with gratitude. Instead of, I hate my commute, try, I'm grateful I have a job to commute to. Day 6, acceptance practice. Pick one uncontrollable situation and practice radical acceptance. No resistance, no complaints, just acceptance. Day 7, reflection. Look back on your week. How do you feel? More in control? Less stressed? More empowered? This simple challenge can rewire your mind in just 1 week. Final thought. Will you drop the coal? Complaints are heavy. They slow you down. They keep you weak. But the truth is, you have the power to let go. The next time you catch yourself complaining, visualize that burning coal in your hand. Feel its heat. Feel its weight. Then ask yourself, am I ready to drop it? Because the moment you do, you reclaim something even greater, your peace, your clarity, and your power. Speak your truth, the freedom of authenticity. The weight of silence. Suppressing your truth is like shaking a bottle of soda. Have you ever held in your emotions for so long that, when they finally came out, they exploded? Maybe you were trying to keep the peace in a relationship. Maybe you avoided confrontation at work. Maybe you felt unheard but told yourself, it's not a big deal. Then one day, something small triggered you. Someone cut you off in traffic. A coworker made a passive-aggressive comment, or a family member asked you a simple question, and suddenly, you erupted. That's because suppressing emotions is like shaking a bottle of soda. The pressure builds, and builds until it explodes. We live in a world that teaches us to filter our thoughts, to soften our words, to say what is expected rather than what is true. But what if I told you that true freedom begins when you start speaking with honesty, courage, and authenticity? What if I told you that your voice has the power to transform your life? The question is, will you use it? The power of right speech, the Buddhist path to authentic communication. Buddhism teaches the concept of right speech, one of the key principles in the Noble Eightfold Path. The idea is simple: speak the truth, speak with kindness, speak with intention. That means authenticity does not mean brutality. It's not about saying whatever is on your mind without considering the impact. It's about aligning your words with your values, using them to build bridges rather than burn them. The Dalai Lama once said, when you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. Speaking your truth is not just about expressing yourself. It's about understanding yourself first. So, before you speak, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Is it true? Are you being honest? Or are you filtering your words to fit in? 2. Is it kind? Can you express your truth in a way that uplifts rather than destroys? 3. Is it necessary? Does this truth serve a purpose? or is it just noise? When you align your communication with these principles, you create authenticity without aggression, honesty without harm, expression with intention. The psychological cost of suppressing your voice. Dr. Brene Brown, a leading researcher on vulnerability and courage, discovered something astonishing. People who suppress their emotions are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. Why? Because unspoken emotions don't disappear. They manifest in other ways. The person who doesn't express their anger develops chronic headaches. The employee who never stands up for themselves starts dreading going to work. The person who hides their sadness behind a smile begins to feel disconnected from themselves. Your body keeps score. Your mind does not forget. And here's the truth. Your silence is costing you more than your discomfort ever will. When you suppress your truth, you sacrifice your mental health, your self-respect, and your ability to connect deeply with others. But when you begin to speak with authenticity, everything changes. You stop feeling trapped. You stop carrying resentment. You build relationships based on honesty rather than illusion. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more people who are real. So, will you be one of them? Journaling, the first step to authenticity. Many people struggle to speak their truth because they don't even know what their truth is. They've been conditioned to please others for so long that they've lost touch with their own desires, needs, and beliefs. That's why journaling is one of the most powerful tools for self-discovery. Each morning, ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. What am I feeling right now? 2. Why do I feel this way? 3. What do I need to express today? Write without filtering. Let the words flow. Get raw. Get uncomfortable. Because here's the thing. You can't speak your truth to the world until you first speak it to yourself. Once you build this habit, you'll start noticing a shift. Your words will become clearer. Your confidence will grow. Your relationships will deepen. And when the moment comes to say something that truly matters, you won't hesitate. The art of difficult conversations. How to speak your truth without fear. Speaking your truth is easy when the stakes are low. But what about when it really matters? What about when you need to tell your partner you're unhappy in the relationship? What about when you need to confront a friend who betrayed your trust? What about when you need to stand up to a boss who undervalues you? These moments define us. They reveal whether we are truly free or still trapped by fear. So how do you speak your truth without fear? 1. Start with intention. Why do you need to have this conversation? What is the outcome you truly want? 2. Use I statements. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," say, "I feel unheard when you interrupt me." 3. Stay calm and present. Take deep breaths. If emotions rise, pause before you respond. You control the energy you bring. For accept that you can't control their reaction. Your job is to speak your truth. How they receive it is up to them. Difficult conversations don't have to be combative. When you speak with clarity and compassion, you transform confrontation into understanding. And in that moment, you reclaim something priceless, your voice. The samurai code of words. Speak with honor. In ancient Japan, the samurai had a strict code of honor known as Bushido. One of its principles was integrity. The practice of speaking the truth, no matter the cost. For a samurai, words were not just sounds. They were commitments. They carried weight. They shaped reality. This is how we must treat our words. Your words are not just noise. They create the world you live in. Speak truthfully and you build trust. Speak courageously and you build confidence. Speak intentionally and you build a life that aligns with your values. So ask yourself, are you using your words as a weapon or as a tool for transformation? Every conversation is an opportunity to bring more honesty, more clarity, and more strength into your life. But it all starts with one thing, the courage to speak your truth. Your 7-day authenticity challenge. Are you ready to break free from suppression and start living as your most authentic self? Try this. Day 1, self-reflection. Write down 5 things you've been afraid to say to yourself or others. Day 2, the mirror exercise. Look in the mirror and say, "My voice matters. My truth is valuable." Day 3, a small act of honesty. Share something personal with a friend without filtering it. Day 4, the truth in writing. Write a letter to someone expressing something you've held back. You don't have to send it. Day 5, a difficult conversation. Identify one person you need to be more honest with. Plan how you will approach them. Day 6, write speech in action. Before speaking, ask, is this true? Is this kind? Is this necessary? Day 7, reflection. How has your week changed the way you communicate? How do you feel? Final thought. Will you use your voice? The world is filled with noise, but authentic voices? They are rare. They are powerful. They create change. The question is, will you be one of them? Take responsibility, drop the blame game. The burden of blame, carrying unnecessary weight. Imagine running a marathon with a backpack full of heavy stones. Every step is harder. Every breath is shorter. Your legs ache and exhaustion sets in. Now imagine this. The weight on your back isn't real. It's a burden you chose to carry. What if you could drop it? What if you could free yourself from the unnecessary load that's slowing you down? Because that's exactly what blame does to you. Blaming others for your struggles, failures, and disappointments is like carrying those heavy stones. Keeps you stuck. It drains your energy, prevents you from moving forward. But here's the truth. No one else is responsible for your success. No one else is responsible for your happiness. No one else is responsible for your growth. That power, it belongs to you. So will you take it? Karma and personal accountability, the foundation of ownership. Buddhism teaches the law of karma, the principle that our actions shape our reality. Not fate, not luck, not the decisions of others. Our choices. This is not just a spiritual idea. It's a mindset shift that separates the weak from the strong, the victim from the leader, the stagnant from the unstoppable. There will always be circumstances you can't control. Your upbringing, your past, the economy, the decisions of others. But what can you control? Your response, your attitude, your effort, your next move. When you stop focusing on who's to blame and start focusing on what you can do, you stop waiting for life to happen to you. You start shaping it. This is what separates leaders from followers, winners from excuse-makers, the strong from the weak. Do you want to take control of your life? Then take responsibility for it. The psychology of blame, why we avoid ownership. But let's be honest, blaming others feels good. Why? Because it removes the pressure from us. It's easier to say, I didn't get promoted because my boss plays favorites. I'm unhappy because my partner doesn't understand me. I'm not successful because the system is rigged. Blame is a mental escape. It allows us to stay in our comfort zone without having to change. But what's the cost? When you blame, you give away your power. When you blame, you stay stuck. When you blame, you reinforce the belief that you are helpless. And nothing kills potential faster than helplessness. Psychologist Martin Seligman coined the term learned helplessness. It's what happens when people repeatedly experience setbacks and failures and start believing they have no control over their lives. But here's what separates the strong from the weak. The strong refuse to believe they are powerless. They refuse to be victims. Because the moment you take responsibility, something incredible happens. You take back your power. Drop the weight. How to release the burden of blame. You are carrying a heavy weight. It's time to put it down. Picture blame as a rock in your backpack. Every time you blame someone else, your parents, your boss, the economy, the government, you're adding another rock. And over time, that weight is crushing you. But what if, instead of carrying that weight, you started dropping the stones? Here's how. 1. Identify what you're blaming others for. Be honest. What's the excuse you keep repeating? 2. Challenge the excuse. Ask yourself, is this really out of my control? Or is this just uncomfortable to change? 3. Take action. What is one small thing you can do to improve the situation? Even if it's uncomfortable. Because action, that's how you get stronger. And the moment you start dropping those excuses, you move faster, think clearer, and live freer. Victim versus victor. The two mindsets that shape your life. There are two types of people in this world. Victims and victors. Victims say, "This is unfair. I have bad luck. It's not my fault. There's nothing I can do." Victors say, "This is a challenge, not a defeat. I will create my own luck. I am responsible for my results. There is always something I can do." The difference? One is passive. One is powerful. Which one will you be? The story of Thomas Edison, failing 10,000 times without blame. Let's talk about one of the greatest minds in history, Thomas Edison. Edison failed 10,000 times while trying to invent the light bulb. Most people would have given up. Most people would have blamed the materials, the lack of resources, the difficulty of the task. But not Edison. When asked about his failures, he didn't say, "It wasn't my fault. The technology wasn't ready. The world wasn't fair to me." Instead, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the mindset of ownership. And because he refused to blame circumstances, because he refused to give up responsibility, he changed the world. So let me ask you, what are you blaming right now that you should be taking responsibility for? Your 7-day accountability challenge. Are you ready to drop the weight? For the next 7 days, take this challenge. Day 1. Identify your excuses. Write down 3 things you've been blaming others for. Be brutally honest. Day 2. Own one mistake. Think of one mistake you've made recently. Instead of making excuses, take full responsibility. Day 3. Reframe a challenge. Take a problem you're facing and turn it into a question. Instead of saying, "This is unfair," ask, "What can I learn from this?" Day 4. Take action. For every complaint you make today, counter it with an action step. Day 5. Eliminate blame language. Remove phrases like, "It's not my fault," or "I had no choice." Instead, use empowering language. Day 6. Ask for feedback. Find someone you respect and ask, "What's one area where I need to take more responsibility?" Day 7. Drop the final rock. Write down one final excuse you've been holding on to. Then make a commitment to let it go. Final thought. Are you ready to take the wheel? Your life is a car. If you blame others for where you are, you're sitting in the passenger seat, helpless, drifting, waiting for someone else to take you where you want to go. But if you take responsibility, you get behind the wheel, you take control, you decide the direction. So the question is, are you ready to drive? Replace fantasizing with visualization, move from dreaming to doing. The illusion of success. Why fantasizing keeps you stuck? Picture this. A man sits in his room, dreaming of wealth, imagining himself standing on stage, successful, powerful, admired. He sees himself at the top of his game, celebrated by the world. But year after year, nothing changes. Why? Because he has mistaken fantasizing for progress. Many people do this. They confuse the illusion of success with the process of achieving it. They imagine themselves fit, but they don't go to the gym. They imagine themselves wealthy, but they never build the skills. They imagine themselves happy, but they don't change their mindset. And so they stay stuck, trapped in their minds, building castles in the clouds. Here's the truth. Dreaming is cheap. Execution is priceless. Fantasizing gives you a temporary dopamine hit, a sense of accomplishment without the work. But real success, that comes from taking action. The question is, will you continue dreaming, or will you start doing? Buddhist wisdom, the power of right intention. Buddhism teaches a profound principle called right intention, part of the Noble Eightfold Path. It states that our thoughts must be aligned with purposeful action. Fantasizing is passive, keeps you stuck in illusion. Visualization is active, prepares your mind for reality. When you visualize with intention, you aren't just imagining success. You're mentally rehearsing the journey. You're training your brain to experience success before it happens. Science backs this up. In a study by Dr. Blaslato at the University of Chicago, basketball players were divided into 3 groups. 1. Group 1 practiced free throws daily. 2. Group 2 only visualized practicing, never touching a basketball. 3. Group 3 did nothing. After a month, the results were shocking. Group 1 improved by 24%. Group 2, who only visualized, improved by 23%. Group 3 showed no improvement. This proves that the mind cannot distinguish between real practice and vividly imagined practice. But here's the key. It's not enough to just see yourself winning. You must see yourself working for it. That's the difference between fantasy and visualization. Mental rehearsal, preparing the mind for action. The world's greatest performers, athletes, musicians, entrepreneurs, all use mental rehearsal to prime their minds for success. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian of all time, visualized every race before stepping into the water. He imagined every stroke, every turn, every possible setback. By the time he competed, he had already won in his mind. You can do the same. Whatever goal you're pursuing, business success, fitness, confidence, use mental rehearsal to prepare yourself for the journey. Here's how. See the work, not just the result. Don't just imagine finishing the marathon. Imagine yourself training, running in the rain, pushing through fatigue, conquering self-doubt. Engage all your senses. If you're visualizing a speech, hear the sound of your voice. If you're visualizing a performance, feel the stage under your feet. Visualize the challenges. Expect obstacles. See yourself overcoming them. Train your brain to respond with resilience. This isn't magic. It's neuroscience. Your brain builds neural pathways based on what you focus on. The more you mentally rehearse success, the more likely you are to execute it in reality. Break it down from vision to execution. Most people get overwhelmed because they focus on the mountain instead of the next step. Want to run a marathon? Don't just dream about the finish line. Set a goal. Run 1 mile today. Tomorrow, run a little farther. Want to start a business? Don't just imagine the profits. Identify the first action. Make 1 phone call, then another, then another. Steve Jobs didn't wake up one morning and create Apple. He started in a garage building 1 product at a time. Every great achievement begins with a single step. The problem isn't that people dream too big. The problem is that they never break it into small, achievable steps. The neuroscience of taking action, why most people stay stuck. Why is action so difficult? Because your brain is wired to resist change. Dr. Carol Dweck, a leading psychologist, explains this in her research on growth mindset. When people believe success is based on talent alone, they avoid challenges because failure threatens their identity. But those with a growth mindset, they see failure as a stepping stone. They understand that progress comes from effort, not luck. If you're stuck in fantasy mode, it's because you fear reality. But here's the truth. Action will always be messy. You will fail. You will struggle. You will doubt yourself. But you must move forward anyway. The only way to break through resistance is to take action before you feel ready. Success isn't about feeling confident first. Confidence comes from taking action. Stop watching, start doing. The passive versus active mindset. Do you consume more content than you create? Are you constantly watching motivational videos, reading self-improvement books, scrolling through success stories but never applying what you learn? This is passive learning. It feels productive, but it's just another form of fantasizing. Instead, commit to active learning. For every book you read, take action on 1 idea. For every podcast you hear, apply a strategy. For every lesson you learn, turn it into execution. Knowledge without action is useless. Your 7-day visualization and action challenge. It's time to shift from dreaming to doing. For the next 7 days, commit to this challenge. Day 1. Define your vision. Write down 1 clear, specific goal. Not, I want to be successful, but I want to increase my income by 20% this year. Day 2. Visualize the work. Spend 10 minutes imagining yourself taking action. See the effort, not just the result. Day 3. Take 1 step. What is 1 small thing you can do today toward your goal? Do it. Day 4. Identify and eliminate distractions. Notice what's keeping you in fantasy mode. Too much social media, over-consuming content, Cut it by 50%. Day 5. Face a challenge head-on. Deliberately put yourself in an uncomfortable situation that forces growth. Day 6. Execute without perfection. Take action without overthinking. Done is better than perfect. Day 7. Reflect and recommit. Look at your progress. Adjust your plan. Keep moving forward. Final thought. Will you be a dreamer or a doer? Right now, you have two choices. 1. Stay in the fantasy. Keep dreaming. Keep waiting. Keep imagining a life you'll never actually live. 2. Step into reality. Start visualizing with intention. Start moving, start building, start becoming. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't belong to the ones who dream the most. It belongs to the ones who dare to act. Prioritize deep relationships. Strength comes from connection. The garden of human connection. Why relationships require care. Imagine a beautiful garden filled with vibrant flowers, lush greenery, and towering trees. This garden represents your relationships, each plant symbolizing a friendship, a family bond, a romantic connection. Now, imagine what happens if you stop tending to it. If you neglect watering the flowers, if you allow weeds of indifference to creep in, if you fail to nurture the soil with presence and effort. Slowly, but surely, the garden begins to wither. The flowers lose their color, the leaves dry up, and before you know it, what was once thriving becomes barren and lifeless. Relationships work the same way. Without attention, they fade. Without effort, they weaken. And here's the paradox. In the modern world, we are more connected than ever. Social media, instant messaging, video calls, technology has made communication effortless. Yet loneliness is at an all-time high, because proximity is not connection. Tension is. The question is, are you truly present for the people who matter? Buddhist wisdom, the power of presence. Buddhism teaches that true presence is not just being physically there, but being fully engaged, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The Buddha emphasized mindful listening, the ability to be present without judgment, without distraction, without waiting for your turn to speak. Ask yourself, how often do you check your phone while someone is talking to you? How often are you mentally elsewhere, thinking about work, stress, or to-do lists instead of truly engaging in the moment? How often do you listen to reply instead of listening to understand? True presence is rare because it requires discipline, patience, and self-awareness. But it is also the foundation of deep, meaningful relationships. The people in your life don't need more texts, more likes, or more surface-level conversations. They need your attention, your time, your presence. The science of connection. Why deep relationships make you stronger. Dr. Robert Waldinger, director of the Harvard Study of Adult Development, conducted an 80-year-long research project to uncover what truly makes people happy. The result? The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. People with strong connections live longer. They experience less stress and anxiety. They recover from illness faster. Their minds stay sharper as they age. In contrast, loneliness and weak relationships have the same health impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Think about that. Your relationships directly impact your health, your resilience, your happiness. So why do we neglect them? Why do we prioritize work over family? Why do we give more attention to strangers online than to the people sitting across from us? Why do we assume people will always be there until one day they're not? It's time to change that. How to strengthen your relationships, even in a distracted world. If you want deep, meaningful relationships, you must be intentional about nurturing them. 1. The distraction-free time rule. When talking to someone, put your phone away. Make eye contact. Show them they matter. Be fully engaged in the conversation. A simple rule, yet so few people practice it. Try it. You'll be amazed at how it transforms your relationships. 2. Ask meaningful questions. Most conversations stay at surface level. They revolve around small talk, obligations, and routines. But the strongest relationships, they are built on depth. Instead of, "How was your day?" ask, "What's something that inspired you today? What's a challenge you're facing?" What's something you've been thinking about deeply lately? These questions open doors to real conversations. Because real connection isn't just about spending time together. It's about being seen, being understood, being valued. 3. Give without expecting. Many relationships weaken because people keep score. I always call first. They never text me back. I put in more effort. But here's the truth. Love is not a transaction. Give because you want to. Show up because you care. Support others without expecting anything in return. Because the strongest relationships aren't based on keeping score. They're built on generosity, trust, and selflessness. Bonus. Learn from failure, your greatest teacher. Failure is a sculptor. It shapes the strongest minds. Imagine a sculptor chiseling away at a block of marble. With every strike, a piece falls away. At first, it may seem destructive, breaking, removing, cutting. But as the sculptor continues, something beautiful begins to emerge. This is what failure does to us. Every setback, every mistake, every disappointment chisels away what is unnecessary, revealing the masterpiece within. But only if we allow it to, because most people, they fear failure. They see it as an ending, not a beginning. They let it break them instead of shape them. They retreat in shame instead of learning in growth. But the strongest minds, they embrace failure as fuel. They know that every setback is a lesson in disguise. Buddhist wisdom, the impermanence of failure. Buddhism teaches the principle of impermanence, that nothing, not even failure, is permanent. A failed business does not mean you are a failure. A broken relationship does not mean you are unworthy of love. A mistake does not define your potential. Everything changes. Everything evolves. And those who understand this, they don't let failure stop them. They let it guide them. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me? How can I grow from this? What will I do differently next time?" Because the moment you shift your perspective on failure, you unlock your greatest potential. How to use failure as a tool for growth. 1. Reframe the narrative. Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I learned." Instead of, "I lost," say, "I grew." Words have power. The story you tell yourself about failure will determine your resilience. 2. Write down the lessons. After every setback, grab a notebook and write, "What went wrong? What did I learn? How can I improve?" This simple practice turns failure into wisdom. 3. Treat yourself like a friend. Would you judge a friend as harshly as you judge yourself? Probably not. So show yourself the same compassion. Because failure is not your enemy. It is your sculptor, your 7-day relationship and growth challenge. Are you ready to transform your relationships and embrace failure as a teacher? For the next 7 days, take this challenge. Day 1, be fully present. Spend an entire conversation without distractions. Day 2, ask a deeper question. Go beyond small talk. Ask something meaningful. Day 3, give without expecting. Do something kind for someone without any expectation. Day 4, reflect on a past failure. Write down 3 lessons you learned. Day 5, change your failure story. Reframe how you talk about a past mistake. Find the growth. Day 6, apologize or forgive. Repair a strained relationship through honesty or forgiveness. Day 7, make a new commitment. Decide, how will you prioritize relationships and resilience from now on? Because at the end of the day, life isn't about perfection. It's about connection, growth, and the courage to keep showing up. Imagine a bamboo tree. Unlike an oak, which resists the wind, the bamboo bends, sways, and moves with the storm. And yet, it never breaks. That is true strength, not rigid but flexible. Not resistant to change, but able to flow with it. Mental resilience isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about learning how to stand tall, no matter what life brings. It's about letting go of negativity, accepting what you cannot control, and taking responsibility for what you can. It's about expressing yourself honestly, turning dreams into action, and nurturing the relationships that ground you. And most importantly, it's about seeing challenges as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Take a moment to reflect. What is one change you can make today to strengthen your mind? Maybe it's practicing gratitude. Maybe it's shifting your focus from complaining to problem-solving. Or maybe it's simply being more present with the people who matter most. Your mind is like that lake. The storms will come, the ripples will spread, but you have the power to return to stillness. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Which lesson spoke to you the most? Let's keep this conversation going and support each other on this journey to greater mental strength. And if you found value in these teachings, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Lotus Light Teachings, because wisdom grows when it's shared. Until next time, keep your mind steady and your heart open.